The bulldozer's engine roared to life as Marcus Chen watched 20 years of memories crumble into concrete chunks. He thought removing his cracked, dangerous pool would solve his problems. Instead, it unleashed a legal nightmare with his HOA that would cost him everything he'd worked for, and reveal a devastating secret that would turn his quiet suburban street into a battlefield. The morning sun cast long shadows across Marcus Chen's backyard as he stood knee-deep in murky water, his hands gripping the pool skimmer like a lifeline. The concrete had cracked again overnight, a jagged fissure that ran from the shallow end to the diving board, bleeding thousands of gallons into the soggy earth below. "Dad, it's getting worse," his daughter Emma's voice carried from the slidings, glass door, tinged with the particular brand of teenage exasperation reserved for parents who refused to acknowledge reality. Marcus didn't turn around. At 45, he'd spent the last 3 years watching his marriage dissolve, his construction business hemorrhage money, and now this. The pool that had once been the crown jewel of 47 Maple Ridge Drive was literally falling apart beneath his feet. "I know, sweetheart." He finally looked up, catching sight of Emma's reflection in the water. 17 years old and wise beyond her years, she'd inherited her mother's sharp intuition and his stubborn streak. "Insurance adjusters coming tomorrow. What if they won't cover it?" The question hung in the humid air like a thundercloud. Marcus had been avoiding that possibility for weeks, but the certified letter from Pinnacle Insurance, sitting unopened on his kitchen counter, suggested his avoidance strategy was about to implode. His phone buzzed. Sarah's name flashed on the screen. His ex-wife, calling from her new life in Portland with her yoga instructor boyfriend. "Don't answer it," Emma said quietly. But Marcus was already swiping to accept. "Hey, Sarah." "Marcus, I just got off the phone with Emma. She said the pool is getting worse." He closed his eyes. Even 18 months after their divorce, Sarah's voice still carried that particular mix of concern and disappointment that made him feel like he was 12 years old again, explaining to his mother why he'd broken her favorite vase. "It's manageable," he lied. "Is it?" Because Emma sounded scared. "She said you've been out there every morning for 2 weeks, trying to patch cracks with pool putty." Marcus glanced at Emma, who had the decency to look apologetic. "It's a temporary fix while I figure out the permanent solution." "The permanent solution is obvious, Marcus. Fill it in. Turn it into a garden or something." "I'm not giving up on it." A long pause. When Sarah spoke again, her voice had shifted into that clinical tone she used when discussing their custody arrangement. "This isn't about the pool, is it?" Before Marcus could formulate a response that wouldn't sound pathetic, a white pickup truck pulled into his driveway. Bold red letters across the side read, "Pinnacle Pool Services." "I have to go," he said. "The pool guy's here." "Marcus." He hung up and waded toward the pool steps, water sloshing around his legs. Frank Delacroix emerged from the truck, a weathered man in his 60s who'd been servicing pools in the Riverside Heights subdivision for 20 years. His expression, usually jovial, was grim. "Morning, Marcus." Frank's boots crunched on the deck pavers as he approached the pool's edge. "Got your message about the new crack. It opened up sometime Sunday night. I heard what sounded like gunshots around 3 a.m., but I figured it was just the neighborhood kids with firecrackers." Frank knelt and examined the fissure. His weathered hands traced the crack's path, and Marcus watched his face cycle through a series of increasingly troubling expressions. "This isn't just settling," Frank said finally. "You've got a serious structural failure here. The whole shell's compromised. Can you patch it?" "Marcus?" Frank stood, brushing concrete dust from his knees. "I've been doing this for 40 years. This pool is done, finished. You keep trying to band-aid it, someone's going to get hurt." Emma had drifted closer, close enough to hear Frank's assessment. Marcus saw her shoulders tense. "What are my options?" "2 choices. Complete shell replacement, where, talking 60, 70,000 minimum, or removal and fill-in." The numbers hit Marcus like a physical blow. His construction business had exactly $8,300 in its checking account. His personal savings had been decimated by the divorce settlement. How much for removal? 12 to 15,000, depending on how much concrete we have to break up and haul away. Still impossible. Marcus ran calculations in his head, trying to find a mathematical miracle that didn't exist. There's a third option, Frank continued. You could try to do some of the demo work yourself, rent a jackhammer, break up the shallow end, save on labor costs. How much would that save? Maybe bring it down to 8 or 9,000. Emma stepped forward. Dad, I have my college fund money. It's not much, but absolutely not. The words came out sharper than Marcus intended. That money is for your future. My future includes having a father who isn't stressed to death about a hole in the ground. Frank cleared his throat diplomatically. I'll leave you two to discuss it. Marcus, you've got my number. But don't wait too long. That crack's going to keep spreading. And if it reaches the equipment pad, you'll have electrical issues on top of everything else. After Frank left, Marcus and Emma stood in silence, staring at the pool that had hosted countless birthday parties, summer barbecues, and lazy Sunday afternoons. It had been Sarah's idea originally, a housewarming gift to themselves when they'd first moved to Riverside Heights. Back when his business was thriving, back when they were happy. I'm calling the HOA, Marcus said finally. Why? There might be emergency provisions for structural failures. Maybe they can expedite approval for removal, waive some fees. Emma looked skeptical. Since when has the HOA ever made anything easier? Marcus pulled out his phone and scrolled to the contact for Margaret Whitmore, the HOA president. A retired real estate attorney with steel grey hair and the disposition of a hanging judge, she'd been the neighborhood's de facto enforcer for 8 years. Mrs. Whitmore, it's Marcus Chen on Maple Ridge. I need to discuss an urgent situation. With my pool. Mr. Chen. Her voice could have frozen the pool water solid. I trust this is about the standing water violation we discussed last month? Actually, it's gotten worse. The pool shell has suffered a major structural failure. I need to have it removed immediately for safety reasons. A pause. Removed? Demolished and filled in. It's become a liability. Mr. Chen, any major landscaping? Changes require architectural review committee approval. That process typically takes 6 to 8 weeks. Marcus felt his blood pressure spike. Mrs. Whitmore, this is a safety issue. The concrete is actively failing. Someone could get seriously hurt. I understand your concern, but we have procedures for a reason. The ARC meets on the 3rd Thursday of each month. You can submit your application. The 3rd Thursday is 3 weeks away, and we'll review your request along with all other submissions. In the meantime, I suggest you drain the pool and post appropriate safety signage. Marcus looked at the crack, which seemed to have widened even during their conversation. What if I submit an emergency petition? Emergency petitions are reserved for situations that pose immediate danger to multiple properties. A single homeowner's pool, while regrettable, doesn't qualify. But the structural failure could affect my foundation, my neighbor's properties. Mr. Chen, I've been managing HOAs for over 2 decades. Pool repairs are not emergencies. Follow the proper channels. The line went dead. Emma had been listening to his side of the conversation, and her expression had darkened progressively. She said no, didn't she? She said 6 to 8 weeks. Dad, the pool won't last 6 days, let alone 6 weeks. Marcus stared at the cracked concrete, then at the stack of bills on his patio table, then at his daughter's worried face. 3 weeks ago, he'd been a man with problems. Now, he was a man with an impossible choice. Follow the rules and risk catastrophe, or break them and face the consequences. He pulled out his phone and called Frank Delacroix. Frank, it's Marcus Chen. How soon can you get a demolition crew out here? Without HOA approval. The HOA approval process will take 2 months. I don't have 2 months. A long pause. Marcus, I've worked in this neighborhood for 20 years. Margaret Whitmore has made my life hell over smaller violations than this. You sure about this? Marcus looked at Emma, who nodded encouragingly. I'm sure. When can you start? Tomorrow morning. But Marcus, once we break the first piece of concrete, there's no going back. After Frank hung up, Marcus sat on his patio steps, watching the afternoon sun create ripples across the failing pool water. Emma settled beside him, leaning against his shoulder. Mum's going to say you're being impulsive, she said. Mum's not here dealing with this. The HOA is going to be furious. Let them be furious. My daughter's safety is more important than their procedures. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun began to set. Neither of them aware that Margaret Whitmore was at that very moment drafting a legal notice that would arrive by certified mail exactly 48 hours later. Neither of them knew that. The demolition would uncover something buried beneath the pool that had been hidden for 15 years, and neither of them suspected that their quiet suburban street was a bow. The jackhammer's violent percussion shattered the morning quiet of Maple Ridge Drive like a declaration of war. Marcus stood in his bathrobe on the pool deck, coffee mug trembling in his hands, as Frank's demolition crew attacked the concrete with methodical precision. Jesus, Marcus, what the hell are you doing? The voice belonged to David Kellerman from next door, a patent attorney who jogged every morning at precisely 7:15 a.m. and had never spoken to Marcus beyond perfunctory waves. Now he stood at the property line in his running shorts, face flushed with indignation. Pool repair, Marcus called over the noise. This is a demolition. Do you have permits? HOA approval? Before Marcus could answer, the jackhammer operator, a compact man named Rodriguez, raised his hand for silence. Mr. Chen, you need to see this. Marcus approached the shallow end where Rodriguez had been working. The man pointed to something, dark embedded in the broken concrete. What am I looking at? Metal box. Looks like it's been here a while. Frank Delacroix appeared at Marcus's shoulder, wiping sweat from his forehead despite the cool morning air. In 30 years, I've never seen anything like this. Someone buried this thing when they poured the pool. Marcus knelt beside the excavation. The corner of what appeared to be a metal document box protruded from the rubble, its surface corroded, but intact. His hands shook as he brushed away concrete dust. Should we call the police? Rodriguez asked. For what? Finding a box in my own backyard? But even as Marcus said it, something cold settled in his stomach. The box was positioned, too deliberately, too carefully sealed. This wasn't construction debris. Dad. Emma's voice carried from the sliding door. She'd emerged in her school clothes, backpack slung over one shoulder. What's wrong? The jackhammer stopped. Nothing, sweetheart. Just hit a snag. You'll be late for school. Emma approached anyway, her teenage curiosity overriding his parental deflection. When she saw the metal box, her eyes widened. Oh my God! Is that… Emma, go to school, now! The sharpness in his voice surprised everyone, including himself. Emma's expression cycled through hurt, confusion, and finally, stubborn determination. I'm not leaving until you tell me what that is. A white sedan pulled into the driveway with deliberate slowness. Margaret Whitmore emerged like an avenging angel, her silver hair pulled into a severe bun, clipboard clutched against her chest like armor. Mr. Chen, her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. This unauthorized construction ends immediately. Marcus stood, positioning himself between Whitmore and the excavation. Mrs. Whitmore, I explained the situation yesterday. This is a safety issue. What you explained was a desire to circumvent established procedures. She strode across the lawn, her heels clicking against the concrete deck. I have a cease and desist order signed by the Architectural Review Committee. She thrust a legal document toward Marcus, but her gaze had shifted to the worksite. Her eyes locked onto the partially exposed metal box, and something flickered across her face. Recognition. Fear. What is that? She demanded. Construction debris, Marcus said quickly. That's not debris. Whitmore's voice had dropped to a whisper. Where exactly did you find that? Frank stepped forward diplomatically. Ma'am, we're just trying to safely remove a failing pool structure. Whatever's buried here predates our work. Whitmore's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face went pale. Mr. Chen, I need you to stop this demolition immediately. The city has concerns about proper permits. The city? Marcus felt the conversation spiraling beyond his control. You called the city. I called them yesterday when you refused to. Follow proper procedures. Inspector Morrison will be here within the hour. Emma had drifted closer to the excavation during the adults' argument. Now she knelt beside the metal box, her phone out, taking pictures. Emma, don't... Dad, there's writing on it. It says Property of Riverside Construction, 2009. The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Riverside Construction had been the developer that built their neighborhood. The same company that had filed for bankruptcy amid a scandal involving missing funds and regulatory violations. 2009, he repeated. That's the year they built our pool. Whitmore's clipboard clattered to the ground. Nobody touches that box. Nobody. Why? Emma's voice was sharp with suspicion. What's in it? I don't know what's in it, but I know. Riverside Construction was investigated by the FBI for fraud and embezzlement. If they buried something on this property, it could be evidence in a federal case. Marcus felt the ground shifting beneath his feet, metaphorically and literally. Mrs. Whitmore, are you saying my property is part of a crime scene? I'm saying that box could contain financial records, contracts, or other materials relevant to an ongoing investigation. The responsible thing is to contact the authorities. Ongoing investigation? Emma looked between the adults. Dad, didn't Riverside Construction go out of business like 15 years ago? The bankruptcy was 15 years ago, Whitmore corrected. The investigation never officially closed. Marcus's phone rang, Sarah's number again. He let it go to voicemail, but it rang again immediately. Answer it, Emma said. She's probably worried about the noise. Marcus reluctantly accepted the call. Sarah, I can't talk right now. Marcus, I just got a call from David Kellerman. He says you're demolishing the pool without permits and there are police cars in the neighborhood. Marcus looked around. Sure enough, a patrol car was parked at the end of the street and another was turning onto Maple Ridge Drive. It's complicated. It's always complicated with you. Emma, are you there? I'm here, Mom. Emma took the phone. Dad found something buried under the pool. Mrs. Whitmore says it might be evidence from some old FBI investigation. What? Sarah's voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. Marcus, what have you gotten yourself into? Before Marcus could respond, Inspector Morrison arrived. A thin man in his 50s, with the expression of someone who'd seen too many weekend home improvement projects gone wrong. He was followed by 2 FBI agents in dark suits who looked like they'd stepped out of a television procedural. Mr. Chen, the taller agent approached with his badge extended. I'm Agent Sullivan. This is Agent Chen. No relation. We understand you've uncovered some materials that may be relevant to a federal investigation. Marcus felt surreal, like he was watching someone else's life implode. I was just trying to remove a broken pool. Agent Sullivan knelt beside the excavation, his expression unreadable. This box appears to match the description of materials that went missing during the Riverside Construction investigation. We're going to need to secure this site as a potential crime scene. Crime scene? Emma's voice cracked. Dad, what does this mean? It means, Margaret Whitmore said with grim satisfaction, that your father's unauthorized demolition has uncovered evidence in a federal fraud case. The entire property will need to be sealed pending investigation. Marcus watched, his neighbors emerging from their houses, drawn by the commotion. David Kellerman stood at his property line with his arms crossed, looking vindicated. The elderly Mrs. Patterson from across the street had positioned herself on her front porch with a pair of binoculars. How long will the investigation take? Marcus asked. Agent Sullivan exchanged glances with his partner. Could be weeks, could be months. We'll need to excavate the entire pool area to ensure we haven't missed anything. Emma grabbed Marcus's arm. Dad, where are we supposed to live? What about school? You can stay in the house, Agent Chen said. "But the backyard is off limits until we complete our investigation." Marcus's phone buzzed with a text from his foreman. "Boss, just heard from the city. They're putting a hold on the Riverside Plaza project pending some kind of investigation. What's going on?" The Riverside Plaza project was his company's largest contract, the one that was supposed to dig him out of his financial hole. If the city was putting holds on projects— "Excuse me," Marcus said to the agents. "I need to make a phone call." He walked toward the house, but Agent Sullivan's voice stopped him. "Mr. Chen, we're going to need you to stay available for questioning. Don't leave town without notifying us." Marcus turned back, feeling like he was trapped in a nightmare. Am I a suspect in something? Right now, you're a witness. But given that this is your property and you were the one who initiated the demolition that uncovered potential evidence, we need to be thorough. Emma followed him into the house. "Dad, what happens now?" Marcus slumped into a kitchen chair, staring at the stack of bills on the counter. The phone rang again. This time, it was his insurance company. He let it go to voicemail. "I don't know, sweetheart. I honestly don't know." Through the window, they watched the FBI agents carefully extracting the metal box from the rubble. Margaret Whitmore stood nearby, her clipboard forgotten, watching with the intensity of someone whose worst fears were being confirmed. The box came free with a grinding sound of metal against concrete. Agent Sullivan carried it to a black SUV, where Agent Chen was setting up what looked like a mobile crime lab. Emma's phone buzzed with notifications. Her classmates were sharing photos and videos of the FBI cars on social media. "Dad, this is going to be all over school by lunch." Marcus's phone rang again. This time, it was Frank Delacroix. "Marcus, I'm sorry, but I've got to pull my crew off the job. That